Yeah, blah, blah, blah. What's up? And today we got another video. What's up? It's December 26th. It's the first day after Christmas. You know what I'm talking about? We got some stuff here. You know what I'm saying, man? We got some, all of that, boy. We got some food, but I'm yapping. Um, what are we doing here? Let's just say how the dating crisis is destroying society forever. That's a little bit much, Moon. That title is crazy. It's not destroying society forever. Yeah, it's making things a little bit tough, but it'll figure itself out as people start to learn more about it and learn about themselves and how to form proper connections and things like that. But with that being said, let's hop into the video, okay? Oop,
You answer this one
there we
question.
go.
When was the last time you met someone naturally? No dating apps, not online, but a genuine interaction in the real world. I'm guessing for most of you it was
I
quite
do
a while
pretty
ago,
often,
but if you're in Generation Z, it
but
possibly
that's
has never even happened. And
that's
that's not an
intentional a lot of
accident.
the time.
Most people we see these days are cashiers, co-workers, people rushing around, delivery drivers, people we pass by, not
Oh,
people we get to know. Interactions are often just transactions. Before dating apps turned relationships into a marketplace, the stage was already set years ago. Just think about an average day. You work from home alone, your groceries get delivered, you tap your phone to pay, no words exchanged. Self-checkout at the shops, takeaway dropped to your door by someone who doesn't make eye contact, or maybe doesn't even speak the same language as you. It's so easy to go
low
days
key.
without meaningful human interaction. Most interactions you do have are transactional unless you're one of the lucky few who finds a club, society, or just something
Low
to
key.
connect with.
If I didn't go on walks every day, I would like I would be going days without talking to people, like maybe even weeks, honestly, sometimes. Unless like in person, I mean. Depending on like the streak. Cause like I be going to the store and stuff and we have like hangouts with like friends or something like that or holidays, like, I just went to see my grandmother yesterday. But outside of that, yeah, I could easily go days or weeks without talking to anybody if I didn't go on my walks. Now I do go out and walk every day, so it's different. You will usually see a couple people passing by. I don't always talk to them though. I don't always talk to them, but I do acknowledge their existence. Um, but yeah, that's just it's tough. It's tough. It's tough.
People.
Let's proceed.
And even then, it's probably shoved into a small corner of your routine. We live in a touchless society, and like anything, if you don't
Touchless
use it,
society.
you lose it. Intimacy, sex, and love are just no different. And unlimited access to adult content really capitalized on this moment. You just click, consume, and wrap things up, remove your sexual desire, and move on with your day. Super easy and truly the simplest exchange for pleasure imaginable, really.
Wait, what?
But it's also shallow, takes away your and
Wait.
truly
What did you say?
the adult content. Intimacy, sex, and love are just no different. And unlimited access to adult
Oh,
content
okay.
really
He's saying
capitalized on
gooning.
this moment. You just click, consume, and wrap things up, remove your sexual desire, and move on with your day. Super easy and truly the simplest exchange for pleasure imaginable, really.
Low key.
But it's also shallow, takes away your drive, it's temporary satisfaction with diminishing returns. And like any addiction, you merely fill
It's
the
like
gaps
Fent.
without addressing the root causes.
Or is
And
it?
the brain
Nah,
is
it's not like
adapted to
Fent.
all of this. Dating
But
apps
it
started with a
is
promise to breach a gap that most of their founders and
not the
investors had
best.
started. I mean, get this one. One of the Tinder CEOs left in 2022 and immediately launched Mino, an AI chatbot to fight loneliness. There's now a thriving loneliness
that?
economy that Silicon Valley talks about all the time. There are
Like that. I've talked about this a lot. The pornography thing, like with it being so readily available and people like getting hooked and addicted to it. That one is like how Fent is like a physiological addiction, so it can like harm you. Um, it can harm you without you like um, meaning for it to harm you, I guess, right? If that makes sense. Like you could just eat it and like be unaware of it or something, and it could harm you. But um, with porn, that one's like you gotta kind of know what you're doing. So that one, if you don't have self control, that one will actually become like more of a psychological addiction. Because I talked about that a good bit actually. I used to have a pornography addiction that I had to break over the past like it was like a couple years ago that I started actually thinking about stuff like that as being damaging to like how you form relationships, expectations with women, and things like that. Uh, all of that, all of that encompassing, even like brain development and stuff like that too. So it's still bad, um, but that one, it's I'll say easier to control if you have the right tools in place because you can replace the dopamine that you get from that and like the set of sexual gratification or like connection that you might be seeking from that and replace it with other things, and then you'll be able to actually easily stop it versus something that's like a physiological addiction that's like something that like your body has to let it run its course first and you have to stay in the game mentally. um, but I digress. Let's continue.
Satisfaction with diminishing returns. And like any addiction, you merely fill the gaps without addressing the root causes. And the brain has adapted to all of this. Dating apps started with a promise to breach a gap that most of their founders and investors had started. I mean, get this one. One of the Tinder CEOs left in 2022 and immediately launched Mino,
Bumble?
an AI chatbot to fight loneliness. There's now a thriving loneliness economy that Silicon Valley talks about all the time. There are even venture capital companies that focus exclusively on this. We made a video about the entire loneliness economy before, as it's just the perfect vector for exploitation. Sell people the solution to the problem you helped create. It's the oldest trick in the book, but the impacts are totally new to us. And that's why they're doing so much damage. We're even inventing new language to deal with this. Remember that cringily soulless word meet cute that people started using years ago? It popped up on social media as a way to describe meeting someone that you exchange numbers with for a date. For example, at a coffee shop or a bookshop when looking for the same book. Just think about the fact that we actually developed a new word for the crazy phenomenon of just meeting someone organically. It should have set off alarm bells, right? It was an early sign that society was changing in a way that made meeting people in real life the exception and not the rule. It's no coincidence that the word started being used a lot around 2015, the same time dating apps blew up. And in the last decade, dating declined to the point where the majority of Generation Z today just don't know or really have any way to meet people.
50% of men aged 18 to 24 have never approached a woman in person in their life. And
50?
like even higher percentage, 18 to 30, haven't approached a woman in the last year.
In recent years, third spaces, meaning not your home, school, workplace, have just vanished. Think about the place that you grew up as an example. Pubs, bars, libraries, high street shops. How many are actually left today? And if any, how busy even are they? Since COVID, we just shut ourselves from home to work to the gym to the supermarket to home. You don't really just go to the village market. There is no real town, square, or hall. You're not really bumping into anyone. Even a bit of small talk with someone at the bus stop just feels weird and awkward. Making eye contact with someone on public transport is a look that leaves you wondering if you're insane.
So much of what makes somebody good at dating is different than now
Good
than
at
it
dating
was
is
50
insane.
years ago.
You can see it in the way coffee shops have changed.
See, like, what? This is part of the problem. That mentality, right, is part of the problem. Why does someone have to be good at dating? Why is that even something to be good at? I feel like the point of dating is to have a relationship with somebody. You know what I mean? If it's not that, then it call it something else. It's not dating at that point. You're just like in a situationship, whatever ship, whatever kind of ship that isn't a relationship, right? Just put that all in like a separate box. But like the point of dating is to get into a relationship, right? So like getting good at dating shouldn't really be even a priority, or it shouldn't even be anything at all, because it's like you're just compatibility checking, really. So I guess what it should be is good at compatibility checking. That's what you should be saying, because like getting good at dating is like saying getting good at tying your shoes before you walk. Nah, it's not that. It's like getting good at what is it like? It's like getting good at putting toothpaste on your toothbrush, but you never actually brush your teeth. So you just have bad breath. Chronically bad breath. That's a bar, yo. Our generation and GTA has chronically bad breath because they only put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, bro. They practice putting toothpaste on the toothbrush. That's a bar. Don't quote me. Actually, quote me. But yeah,
Almost every cafe is bland, empty, just minimalist. Almost as if they're designed purely as a conveyor belt of coffees and customers, getting
they
us in
are.
and out as quickly as possible to extract the most amount of money they can. But can
That's
you
the
remember the
goal.
time when a stereotypical cafe was like this? With big sofas, comfy chairs, bringing people together to talk, and people just walking up to someone to say something without it being creepy. The show Friends was based on just reality in the 90s,
Oh, he's getting
and it's
nostalgic
all
now.
part of a much wider pattern, one that's seemingly threatening humanity.
That this is actually a potentially existential crisis. Humans
They
really
have
do
AI
need the
cafes.
qualification of
We
an
sit on
endangered
VR
species.
couches.
Because meeting people and building relationships is
text.
really the most important thing for human survival. It's often the key indicator in determining your lifespan. It's how we have replacement rates in just the population. But with this last decade and the disappearance of so many communal spaces where our parents and grandparents had opportunities to randomly meet new people, mixed with dating apps, has meant we're seeing a gap try to be filled that wasn't a natural one. This is a void created by the same economic forces that hollowed out our third space as chains and corporate landlords. The same
Hollowed out.
forces that funded these apps promising to replace what was destroyed. And dating apps didn't discover a gap in the market, one was just torn open and then monetized. But it was a lie. That too was all about getting your money. Think about it, the whole idea of a dating app as a viable business is a paradox. If they actually help people into relationships, they would clearly lose business. One good match is two lost customers, so instead they design the apps to fail, and in doing so keep us hooked on using them. And in turn, what better way to keep an active user base than by having relationships designed to be short-term? This is your capacity to fall in love, to build a family, to find meaning. All your data, all your most vulnerable desires is just slowly converted into swipes and push notifications so someone else can hit their quarterly growth targets. Your relationship is designed to not be long-term. It's why men make up 75% of Tinder users and women just 25%. Interestingly
Now, don't
enough,
get me wrong.
the co-founder of the dating
Don't get me wrong. It's okay to have short-term relationships, but for the entire society to be like engineered to do that is I think that's a losing proposition. There needs to be a balance of different types of relationships, you know what I mean? Like there's going to be some long-term relationships, some of them, short-term, right? Maybe there's like a certain time in somebody's life where they're like, you know what, I really want to like be in a relationship with someone, to have a roommate, you know what I mean? Like for like a year or two. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as like they're both enjoying their time, and they're like treating each other well and everything like that. It's not toxic, anything crazy like that. I feel like there's nothing wrong with that, you know what I mean? I'm just saying like, hey, you want to date for like 2 years and enjoy this relationship, and if it goes longer than that, it goes longer than that. But like, hey, that's just my personal opinion. I don't think there's a problem with it. Now, when it comes to having kids, that's where you need to lock down and be prepared to like stay in that bitch for a while. You know what I mean? Because like, you gotta make sure you're checking different things when you're looking for somebody to have kids with versus somebody to date. I feel like, because like they can overlap, but I feel like it's a little bit different. But let's continue.
site OkCupid wrote a book revealing what actually happens behind the scenes of dating apps. Women, as you'd expect, receive an average of 4 to 5 messages a week, which even that seems unlikely to be this
Kinda low.
90% of men received an average of 0 messages. Only at the extreme end of the attractiveness scale do the best looking men receive around 1 to 2 messages.
But there's also a lot
That's
of men
cap.
who are relying on dating
That's
apps.
cap. Because when I was doing it, I was getting at least like 10 plus a day, kind of. It was kind of crazy. I wasn't exactly that. It was like every couple of days would get like between like 10 to 20. But for the majority, I think what he's saying, that's definitely the case. Definitely the case. Because I was grinding, bro. I wasn't even like sitting around like, oh, I'm gonna just waltz into all these matches. No, bro. I was like, I would literally wake up. I have all the apps downloaded. I think I had like 4 or 5, 6 different apps, something like that. But I had like multiple apps, and I would just get up. I would set like a little reminder, like in the morning, and then at night to like hop on, and then go through all the profiles and swipe for the ones that I liked. I read their bios and all that. Be like, all right, bet. Go through that on all the apps, and then go do it again at night. I was grinding. I was not playing with these women, bro. I was like, yo, we're not taking this dating thing nonchalant. We're here to swipe and get swiped on. But yeah, let's proceed.
Apps who are never going to get the matches that they desire, either because they are short or because they are bald.
So, as many of us already know, if you're not in the top 10%, there's really no point in using them. It's something that's called mate suppression in practice, and we'll get into that more soon.
And the reality
Mate
is,
suppression,
for
bro.
95% of guys,
Insane.
online and dating apps aren't going to be a fruitful place for them to meet women.
But what we're seeing right
That's
now is
cap.
that Generation Z's entire
Honestly, that's cap. I feel like online is different. On a dating app, yes, because it has an algorithm attached to it. But online is completely different. You know what I'm saying? Take a look at this. Check this out, right? I think, here's my hypothesis, right? Excuse me. My hypothesis, but here's my, excuse me, my personal take on this situation. For dating apps, I think what they're saying is definitely true because the algorithm actually does not even show people that aren't getting a lot of likes a lot of the time. So like you come in there, you're not getting a lot of likes, you're gonna get bumped down in the rankings like crazy for the dating apps because the algorithm doesn't support that. You know what I mean? However, right? If you just have your whatever social media you have like Instagram, Twitter, what's another one, Facebook, right? And you see someone you like, and you go and you like one of their pictures or something. You comment on their picture. Hey, I think you look cute. Da 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 da. We should talk or something like that, right? Or you shoot them a DM and then they go on your stuff. They check you out. It doesn't matter what what algorithm thinks what at that point because you just connected to that person and now their algorithm in their head is what they're going to use to like judge you. You see what I'm saying? It's not the same. It's not equal weight because one of them is like the algorithm. One of them is saying, "Hey, the algorithm is valuing you and showing you to people," and the other one is saying, "Hey, you're showing yourself to a person, and they're gonna judge you based on their own criteria." So it's different. But due to how uh, due to how impressionable a lot of people have become through social media, their actual biases and criteria has changed and morphed according to these algorithms, which is unfortunate. Unfortunate. But we're going to proceed.
prospect of finding love is
Even if it's not even true to them or like what they think is going to be a good relationship. But I'll
based
proceed.
on the ELO rating system, a
Yep.
numerical method
Dating
developed to
ELO.
rank players in games like chess.
Man, I'm about to
Players
go
score
plat
determines how
and,
strong or weak they are in relation
in
to
dating. No, I'm
others.
kidding.
So your
I'm
ability
joking.
to find love
we're
is
good on that.
seemingly literally being run through the same maths we use to decide who's good at chess or League of Legends. It's why whenever you join these apps, you get tons of matches, then suddenly they just fade away. You'll be told this is a personal failure, but oftentimes it's not. It's just the platform sorting you to the bottom unless you pay a ton of money. And this created a dangerous dynamic that has now permeated the world of dating. One where women select the same group of the most attractive men who have almost exclusive access to women, who then become less interested in lots of these girls because they are then seen as too easy. The effect of this is that dating is seemingly a low-trust marketplace, as the entire way to attract is seemingly detachment and not through connection. It's always a contest of who
low-key.
cares the least, who can take the longest to message back, who's more aloof, disinterested, and who holds the power in the struggle to not care about the other.
Yeah, it's
In other
become like a
words, it's
boxing
game,
match,
a game
bro.
where almost everyone is bound to lose. You can now see it on reality TV with game shows where heartbreak is entertainment. But what's the
Yeah.
message we're supposed to get from this? Romance isn't sacred, it's just a contest, which all leads to the loneliness epidemic.
funny.
And this one's hitting the
Personally,
youngest
I'm not
the
affected by
hardest.
this much anymore because it's like, yeah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like that person's not for you. That person's not for you. If you're not for them, you're not for them. You know what I mean? There's no hard feelings about that. You just gotta go separate ways. But I feel like going into that, that's because I've had a lot of experience with like first and foremost myself and my emotional journey and control and awareness and things like that, um, to where I've built up that kind of resilience to emotional damage, if that makes sense, um, based on attachment. You know what I mean? And so, but I feel like people, especially a lot of young people that haven't gone through a lot of that growth and internal like knowing of themselves and how they respond emotionally and how they connect with people, can be super damaging, because you go into it with a mentality of, I'm not here to connect. I'm here to make sure I don't get hurt, but I'm gonna make it look like I'm trying to connect so that I can get you to connect first. You know what I mean? So it's like it's an interesting little game, little tit for tat, little back and forth. I don't like it. I think it's played out. I think it's corny. I think it's got a lot of issues with it. It's kind of rare sometimes. I feel like to see people that I've been seeing a lot more people that have been getting out of it, but I feel like at least maybe a few years ago, it was like very rare to see people who could see outside of that little veil and that little bubble that people were showing them. That's like, hey, this is the way dating is. It's like, no, well, actually, is dating is literally just, hey, nice to meet you, I'm so and so. Hey, nice to meet you, I'm so and so. Oh, tell me about yourself. And then you like find out about each other. You find out how you guys are with each other. You guys energy, how you guys' energy interacts with each other. How you guys choose to live your lives. You know what I mean? Do you guys have the same goals, same direction, same I don't know, whatever you want in the relationship? And then from there you decide what to do. But right now it's like, nah, we're not even opening the door unless you like hit these artificial check boxes. And there's other people that are like, yeah, but I've got these hidden intention. I'm just here for one thing, but I'm gonna let them know. I'm gonna show them another thing, and it's just like, all right, whatever, bro.
But it's not
Whatever, bro.
just dating. Our whole modern society is stacked against any of us meeting someone, getting married, or even having children, and the consequences of this will change the world as we know it. Because there's something else catching up with us. Our bodies are
that?
starting to fail and lose the capacity to produce children at all. You know what they found recently? Microplastics in human
Whoa.
testicles. Human testicles contain nearly 3 times as much plastic as dog testicles. We're literally
Whoa.
marinating our reproductive organs in synthetic polymers. It's one of the many explanations as to why male sperm counts have dropped by more than 40% since 1970. Average sperm counts
Whoa.
could even hit near zero at the current trajectory. Even if a situation that
Whoa,
extreme
that's
doesn't
crazy.
transpire, there are plenty of other things to worry about, like the forever chemicals in non-stick pans and waterproof jackets, BPA in your water bottles, or the nasty chemicals
That's
in your
why I've been
shampoo.
staying away from a lot of
just
that
the list
stuff.
goes on. Even simple stuff like drinking hot coffee out of plastic takeaway cups. We just live in a world now saturated
bro.
with endocrine disruptors. And surprise, surprise, our endocrine systems are getting disrupted by all of this garbage we're pumping into our bodies daily. But even if you've somehow avoided the chemical assault, even if your fertility
I'm
is
glad.
fine,
I'm very
there's
fortunate
another
that I
huge
had
problem vying against us.
people to like look after stuff like that. Like my mother, especially, a lot of the times, she would be like, "Yeah, we're not gonna be using that stuff in the house. All the like BPA and stuff like that. All the like synthetic things. Like we're buying whole foods. We're buying like stuff without the preservatives, natural like deodorant products. Like making it just keep it as simple and clean as possible, so it's not pumping all these like random microplastics." Which I'm very grateful for,
How
because
many of
now
your friends
I
between
do
the
that
ages
a
of
lot.
18 and 30 have kids? 1, 2, none until this year or last? Is anyone planning to have kids? How about those who said they don't even want kids? We just push everything later and later back. Education, work, financial stability, and for the middle classes especially, that pushes back having a family. Because you only have a family when it's really sensible to you, right? That's just the middle class value. Rich people don't worry, and poorer people don't worry. But nothing changes our biological clock when it comes to fertility. Women over 35 are considered advanced maternal age, and honestly 35 is starting to look young to have kids for millions of people around the world. However, at 35, miscarriage rates nearly double. The chance of chromosomal abnormalities skyrockets. Down syndrome risk goes from something like 1 in 1,250 at 25 to 1 in 100 at 40. And it's 1 in
Whoa.
1,250 50s skyrockets. Down syndrome risk goes from something like 1 in 1,250 at 25 to 1 syndrome risk goes from something like 1 in 1,250 at 25
Whoa, Down syndrome. Whoa, that's crazy.
to 1 in 100 at 40. And it's not just mothers, older fathers contribute too. Men over 45 show increased risk for autism, schizophrenia, even stillbirth in their partners. Having kids into the 40s, 50s, and way higher for men at least is now
crazy,
becoming
man.
super common. Every year you wait, you're rolling dice with higher and higher stakes. But what
That's
else
tough.
do you do? Shrug your shoulders and say it's too late and just plummet towards old age without the family you ever wanted and live an unsatisfying life. Well, if you don't want that, when natural conception fails, you can only turn to IVF. This is often the modern solution, except a single cycle costs $12,000 to $15,000. Add
What is that?
medications, there's another $5,000, and most people need multiple cycles.
okay, I
So
see.
you're looking at around $30,000 to $50,000 minimum, often much, much more. And this leads down a dark path where we're forced to engineer more of the process of just having kids. Genetic testing in the womb. Testing for Down syndrome is one thing, but some companies will now screen for height and IQ. It's an ethical black hole on every front, for men and women. Women are the childbearers,
That's
they
weird.
shoulder a lot of the risk here, and male dating culture doesn't think about this enough
I've
because
seen that guy.
everyone is
Isn't he
turning against
racist?
each other. If you've seen our video on population collapse, you'll
Is he
know that
racist?
fertility rates are just collapsing.
Am I
Countries like the
tripping?
USA and the UK are seeing the lowest childbirth numbers in their histories. It's not just a stat, it's millions of people who always imagined they'd have a partner and family one day, now quietly aging out to that possibility.
Nah,
Family
she said, wait, what do you mean you hate it? What happened? How are you, why are
they'd
you
have a
like
partner
that?
and family one day, now quietly aging.
She says she's 40 and single and she hates it. Why? There's no way. I'm figuring, like, at least from my perspective, she looks beautiful enough. I feel like I feel like there's something that needs to be addressed there. What's going on? Why are you 40 and single and you don't want that? I feel like at least like the way she's presenting herself now, there must be a serious issue that I'm not seeing here. Maybe she's like biologically maybe she's got some kind of like pregnancy disability or something like that, or like maybe she's toxic. I don't know.
Reaching out to that possibility. Family lines ending not because people don't want love, but because our environment makes acting on that desire impossible. Ask yourself, even if you did meet the right person, what would stop you from having children? Probably not enough money, no chance of being able to buy a house anytime soon. Cost of living is probably too high in your city with food, bills, and transport. The cost of childcare is more than your current salary. There are just no good schools in your area, or no school places in areas with good schools. Or even just finding a wife that you can trust won't divorce you and take half of your money. It's probably
Crazy.
all of the above. It's not just an economic problem. Based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all the stuff we need like love and marriage and family are just the basics. It's the same importance in life as having food, water, a roof over our heads. The funny thing is that the way this hierarchy was sold to us in the 20th century made it sound like family came after you'd finally self-actualized. You've nailed the career, the money, the personal growth, now for a family. In reality, for most people, that self-actualization replaced family altogether. There was always one more phase of working on myself first, so we ended up with a whole culture optimized for individual self-maximization, while family quietly got pushed off the edge of the pyramid. Today, most of us, let alone Generation Z, never even get past the bottom layers. Housing, money, community, security, it's all unstable. And when your foundation is shaking, you can't climb to the levels where belonging, intimacy, and family even become possible. The system keeps us stuck in survival mode, but gaslights us for not reaching love. Do you ever lie in bed scrolling through people's social media? The engagements, weddings, honeymoons, kids, it feels like you're watching real life from behind glass as time seems to disappear from under you. And it's not just about missing
That's
out
what.
on dates.
Whenever I start looking at, that's what I've literally been doing a lot. Whenever I start like looking online and I notice myself like scrolling, like looking at like random people's stuff, and I'm just like, this is not a productive use of my time. This is not like what I should be focusing on right now. And I just go do something else. I'm just like, you know what? How is this benefiting me right now? And don't get me wrong, like that's only because there's like some stuff that I'm working towards right now, and it's either, hey, I can look at this and just observe somebody doing something, or I could like either rest or like meditate or like read something, or or like work on something, or just sit there in silence. And I feel like more often than not, this hand has the better options than just to sit there and just like look at somebody else's life, like, oh, look at that person living their life. I don't know, man. Like in better places, I got no problem with it because I'm so happy for people. When I see people having fun and living their life, I'm so happy for them. But to sit there and constantly scroll through just looking at other people's lives, like, I don't know, man. I feel like that is reserved for like once everything else is where you want it to be. At least in my mind.
Is that we're missing out on the opportunity to build something lasting, something to have outside of ourselves, something to connect us with beauty in the world. Somehow starting a family is considered a luxury for the rich, a luxury for a select few in society who don't have to worry about the housing market. They don't have to worry about the dating crisis. They own several homes. That money and security is attractive to other women. They don't need to worry about schools. They can send their kids to the best private schools anywhere in the world. And the thing is, this isn't an accident. Decades of decisions driven by corporate greed, short-term profits, and a culture that worships work over family has left us here. Those at the top are allowed to have family. They're able to have more kids. And even then, they're still not having that many. Like an idiocracy, where you'll get these upper-class people debating whether it's a good idea to even have one child. So how can you expect an undervalued, underpaid worker class to ever be able to have the time, money, or even possibility of raising a family? Especially as more and more governments cut childcare, youth services, community centers, third spaces, police numbers, the list just goes on. But the effect down the
Police
line
numbers?
is just a less safe, less connected
I didn't know
society
police were getting
that is
cut.
not replacing itself. Huge populations in the entire Anglosphere are just disappearing over time. And this is where it
for
gets
real?
interesting, because
For
if you
real?
think about the West 150 years ago, it wasn't like we were even that much richer.
excuse
So
me.
many people struggled. Poverty was rife. The poor worked insane hours, but they still had families, often large ones.
Yeah.
So what actually changed? Well, religious communities and spaces, shared culture, social traditions and rituals, these safety nets that help people to share life's burdens were just erased. Modernity has completely stripped away all the essentials that make replacing your population just a natural part of human evolution. And I'd say the most infuriating part of this fertility collapse is when we're just supposed to pretend that people's decision to not have children is simply a personal choice, and not one imposed upon us by oppressive social
Sometimes it
structures.
is.
This isn't a
I
problem
don't
in
feel
Africa.
like everyone should be a parent if they don't want to be. You know what I mean? Because it's like it takes a certain amount of restraint. It takes a certain amount of teaching ability. It takes a certain amount of a lot of things. A lot of like interpersonal. I feel like personally there are a lot of people that, regardless of whether they had the money to or not, still should not have been raising kids at that point in their life. But not necessarily should not, but it's more just like it creates like unnecessary problems for the kids. Were they than if they were to just wait until they were in a better position, you know what I mean? Yeah, either mentally or fiscally, relationally, you know what I mean? But that's another topic for another day.
Africa or other developing parts of the world, and yet somehow the rich West can't even replace its population levels. And we can't just blame the rich and powerful here. Much of the progress we celebrate today is just part of the problem. Because we created a massive middle class, and when you look at who's actually having kids, it's not a straight line from rich to poor. It's a U-shape. The wealthy have kids. Elon Musk has 12 children. Nick Cannon has 12. Robert...
Wait, he has 12 kids, bro? Elon, but he doesn't take care of any of them though. He's probably a deadbeat, right? I'd have to imagine he's a deadbeat, and he only shows up for the pictures that we see. That's what I'd have to imagine, right?
De Niro just had his kids. Elon Musk has 12 children. Nick Cannon has 12. Robert De Niro just had his 7th at age 79. The working class or populations in poorer countries have tons of kids too. Africa's population is booming. Often when work prospects are lower and pay is worse, kids become a lifeline. Life priorities put family before career advancement because career advancement really isn't on the table anyway. There's nothing controversial about this. This was always what it used to be like before countries became industrialized and the middle class blew up. Families had loads of kids first because infant mortality was high, and second because it means more family income and higher overall chances of survival. The middle class, though, they're getting absolutely crushed. And they're dying quite literally because of that. First, the middle class is associated with hard work and career aspirations, the self-actualization I talked about earlier. So immediately there's an additional cost, childcare, because most middle class households have dual incomes. No one wants to give up the career society marketed to them all their life. The middle class couple sits at the kitchen table with a spreadsheet. Mortgage, student loans, car payments, health insurance, retirement savings they're already behind on. And then childcare that costs more than their rent. So they wait and wait. They're being sensible, and by the time they feel ready, realize the biological clock never stopped. This is the low fertility trap that threatens everyone. The working poor have kids they can't quite afford. The rich have as many as they want, but the middle class, the people who followed all the rules of their life, maximized their education, delayed gratification, well, they're getting totally screwed. As you expect and probably know, all of this is causing a hell of a lot more stress, angst, paranoia, and disdain. It's getting so bad that men are just doing everything possible to thrive in this algorithmic system. To the point of literally breaking their bones to add height to their hinge profile.
Oh yeah,
or just
I
smashing
saw
their
that.
jaw open until it looks worthy of.
Yeah, I saw that, man. This is like crazy, bro. This is a crazy level of like of mental instability in our generation, or whatever generation you're from
More
watching
likes
this.
on Instagram. It's why looks maxing is now a
What did
thing.
he say, Mark?
Until it looks worthy of more likes
What?
on add height
Dude,
to their
threes?
hinge profile. Or just smashing their jaw open until it looks
Bruh.
worthy of more likes on Instagram.
Oh my
It's why
gosh.
looks maxing is now a thing.
we're really seeing is that there is like this very, very like deep anger, entitlement. There's like this incel movement. There's this like alpha male, beta male kind of thing. And I don't know if you kind of get this, but there's like a deep sense of like anger.
Men today are more overprotected than ever before, but at the same time less able to be themselves or show vulnerability than ever. With constant mixed messages about needing to be confident and assertive, but also to never make a woman uncomfortable. So when real intimacy feels impossible or dangerous, most people just end up with two obvious escape routes. Adult content, which has now become a type of synthetic intimacy, numbing your core drive in life to Bonnie Blue videos. Or you go the other extreme,
wait.
numbing your core drive in life to Bonnie Blue video.
He said something crazy. He said, numbing your core drive in life to Bonnie Blue videos. That's a bar. Ooh, man, that's a bar right there.
Or you go
Just
the other
don't let
extreme
that be
route,
you.
monk mode with alpha male
Please.
gurus, where you see influencers taking TRT at just 14 years old to looks max.
So I was like, I'm gonna get my physique going as quickly as possible. I do not care about side effects. I don't care about any implications of, this guy's using drugs. None of that shit really fazed me.
There's even an influencer influenced so much by his love of American Psycho, he offers expensive
Hey, I don't agree with
courses
it,
to
but
help
he's
young,
living his
vulnerable
life,
men
I guess.
ascend.
I feel
Even
like-
the escape routes
I
offered
feel like
by these
because
men
he's
arose
young, that's the problem. That's the main problem I would have with that. Because he's young and he hasn't really like developed enough to even like, one, do that stuff safely, and two, to like see if that's even the way he wants to go. You know what I mean? Because it said he started doing that at like 14, right? So I don't know. Maybe he's cool with that, but I don't know, man.
to nowhere with heavy price tags attached, but they all clearly indicate that there is a crisis happening. They're symptoms that dating is falling apart. And with more and more endless towns and cities designed around roads for vehicles and the loss of communal spaces that once enabled people to meet naturally, free time is just now dominated by screens. We need more exaggerated extreme content, whether it be some crazy look smack rant or watching 1,000 men line up outside. Yet whenever this issue is talked about publicly, it just sounds like a
Crazy.
joke. No one ever takes it seriously, no one even thinks about
Yeah.
it. In fact, society will just continue to tell us that biology doesn't matter. Sex, status, attachment, presence are all just irrelevant. We're now post-animal, caged in our rooms, playing out life virtually, deprived of
Post-animal.
community, ritual,
I
movement,
said
and
animal.
necessary bits of chaos and
Post-animal.
unpredictability. The conditions that our species evolved in. So next time you see falling birth rates across the Western world, when you see the population collapse in numbers, you have to realize that this is manifesting itself through these weird behaviors that we're seeing today. And as we continue to struggle to even replace our current populations, the burden will only get heavier for everyone.
Hey, W video, man. Young Moon W video, man. I gotta leave a comment. Dang, these comments are crazy. They said, has no soul, designed not to. Ooh, yo. nations into plantations. Yo, conclusion. Turning nations into plantations leads to civilization collapse. Oh, yo, he could have switched that. He could have said, turning nations into plantations leads to the collapse of your civilization. That's a bar. That's a bar right there. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and skip off to the end of the video here. I hope you guys liked it. Go ahead and leave a like if you did. And subscribe if you don't want to. No, I'm just kidding. Subscribe if you want to. If you don't want to, hey, I get it. I'm going to be real. I understand. I get it. But you might as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got more stuff coming. So with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. Go ahead and see you later. Bye.